embarrassing story about my dad from that
Yeah. What's up, guys? My name is Rob, and this is Rob on the Run podcast, a running podcast for all healthy lifestyles. And today we have a very special episode. We have Hillary, of course, and her dad. And I decided to do this because I've known a lot about Hillary through the podcast and through her Instagram and, everything that she's done. But I got me very curious to kind of find out from the father himself. I know he's a big influence in her running. He's been there for her since day one. And why not bring him and maybe we can get some embarrassing stuff out and know a little bit more of Hillary. So how's it going, man? How's it going, guys?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Awesome. Well, let's start from the easiest question, as I always say. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I guess we'll start with me.
Yeah. Sorry, you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a problem. I've been Hillary's dad her whole life. And I started running in 1980 in sixth grade.
Okay.
And got into it from playing other sports, particularly soccer. I was a decent soccer player. But my favorite part was the warm-up lap and the cool-down lap, and I could outrun people up and down the field throughout the game. And so had an opportunity in sixth grade to go out for track. Didn't know what I was doing. Ran in a pair of Vans and jeans, and before I knew it, somebody was telling me, you're a pretty good miler. And I was very fortunate that my uncle, who's a big influence on me, was a collegiate runner at the University of Maryland, and he had moved to Arizona, and so guided me in my early stages of running, and it just continued from there. And
first marathon.
Yeah, I will say this: looking back, there's definitely a lot of things that I would do differently if I could go back in time, but that would obviously change the course of all things. But
yeah,
I ran a marathon when I was 12, and
oh wow.
It sounds like a great, conversation piece that, you ran 26.2 miles when you were 12. Yes. Yeah, I did. I think I had success immediately in track, and there was just different opportunities. And this was sort of like the Fiesta Bowl Marathon was in Scottsdale where I was growing up. And I don't know, for some reason decided to take it on, but I look back on it. There's a reason why I think marathons have age restrictions. You may physically be able to do it, but I don't think it's particularly good. I think young runners should stick with track and cross country and maybe some shorter road races. There's plenty of time to move up in distance and do those things. And so, it's an interesting conversation. I look back on it, I should not have been able to do that.
And what got you to do a marathon at 12 years old?
When I started, there was a kid at my middle school who had run the marathon the previous year, and he had his shoe was autographed by Bill Rogers, and he had this huge trophy. And I was like, okay, I'm faster than this kid. If he could go and run this marathon, and he could get that really cool trophy, I could do the same thing. And so. And I was coming off of, I went from, not knowing what I was doing, running around the field at school to that summer, winning the age group state, 800 and 1500, for AAU Junior Olympics. And then I won region in Denver for 815. And then got second in my age group at nationals in the 8. And sort of, when you have instant success, you sort of think you can take on the world, and so you do. Yeah. And I really do wish somebody had reined me in, because running can be a very long career, and I think you need to make sure to be pacing out. I think that's something that has helped me with Hillary running. She wanted to do it. It was not a, hey, look, I did this, you should try this. Yeah. And I've tried to be as hands off as I could, or help when she wanted it, because I think somebody needs to find that love for the sport, and the reason that they do it. And I also, it's helped me as a coach, because there's a lot of things that I wish that a coach had done for me that would have extended my career and been more successful. But at
Yeah.
the same time, if things had been different, every other thing in the course of life would be different. So,
Yeah.
we're the sum of all of our experiences. So, but that's how I started running, and it's been part of my life again since the spring of 1980. With some times off in college, et
Yeah.
cetera, and getting back into it.
And then you got back into it when I was in elementary school, and that's when I started running 5Ks, and that's when he picked up marathons again. So there was
nice.
there was what a 20-year gap between your first marathon and your second.
There's definitely big gap between the times on those things, and I guess I had to come back and rediscover the joy of running.
Yeah.
I got injured. It shortened my career. It was really hard to come back. I did not have good guidance from coaches. Didn't have access to these days. You'd have athletic trainers or standard at high schools, and also looking at the overall wellness of an athlete. That it's not just the physical aspect. And as a high school teacher, you know that teenagers have things that they deal with, and so my experience of not having things, I think, has helped me as a teacher and as a coach to be aware of those and try to provide what I didn't have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got into journalism and put running aside, and that was pretty much my life for a while. And we moved back to Arizona and decided, needed to get back into doing something. If something I knew was running, and I just got back into it, and it's been great since then.
It's funny that you mentioned at the beginning that the best part of when you're playing sports was the running part, because it makes me remember when I was growing up, my brother used to love to play baseball, and they made him run laps around the whole field, and he would find every single excuse for him not to do it.
Really?
Yeah, he would say, like, he would tell his coach, "Hey, I just drank milk and it's not going to be good." All these excuses.
Yeah.
And as the players would show up, they would run their two loops, 3 loops, and then start warming up, like throwing the ball around. And I would get there early with my brother, and I would run with him, and then I would run with another person, and I would just run all the time, as how they would get there. But it never dawned on me that I actually like running. I was a little kid. I think I might have been in like 5th grade or 4th grade or something like that. And it finally became a passion of mine when I met my fiance. She's the one that got me into running, which it was in my like 38, 39, so I started very, very late. But I just, now thinking about it, I loved running since the beginning that I could remember, but I just never really got into it. I think I was a very short kid. I was a very short and thin kid, and I was always scared that the bigger kids were gonna like beat me up or something like that. So I never actually pursued it. But it makes me think about that situation with me. You started, the best part of the thing is probably the least part that most people like, running. So that's kind of cool. But the curiosity in me, and I don't know if you know, but when you ran that marathon at 12, do you remember your time?
Yeah, it was 3:33:22.
Oh, wow. That's
And
crazy.
I'll be honest, I was very disappointed with it. I got like these days they would call it marathoner's flu.
Yeah.
The week of the race, your immune system can be suppressed, and I was sick.
Oh, wow.
And I was aiming for between 3:10 and 3:15. And that's kind of what I had trained at, and it turned out to not be a very, very good day. And looking back on it, was very interesting. And Hillary and I have talked about it. I mean, there was no goos or gels. There was no glide for friction issues. There was no performance material. I ran it in a t-shirt and a pair of running shorts, and that was like what you wore back then. And I still remember definitely the day on it and being a little disappointed with not performing as I had, but it's. I think all of our experiences help shape who we are. And you actually mentioned something that reminded me about the baseball thing. My last last sport I played before going completely into running was that time when I started running, was playing Little League.
Okay.
And they put me in the outfield to chase fly balls. Like, you're fast. So like, you're not the greatest, fielder.
Yeah.
So we're going to put you in the outfield and you can just run around and catch balls. But the other thing was, I was not a very good batter, but I somehow had a way of getting walked a lot.
Mm,
And I loved it because my goal was, I'm going to steal home.
yeah.
And, and so, if the chance was there, I'd take second, and if it was a chance to take third, now we're going to round it. We're going to take home as well. So
Oh, wow.
even in baseball, the last time I played it, running was. I wasn't exactly the greatest player, but I could
Yeah.
run.
But you contributed to the team one way or another, right?
Yes, I did. I was quite entertaining to watch some kid. Why is the skinny kid trying to run from first base to home plate?
Oh my God. It's funny that you mentioned that because it makes me remind myself about when I played baseball. I was afraid of the ball.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I
was
had that
really
too.
bad.
Yeah.
I was really bad. They put me in second base, which I was okay of a fielder. Actually, I was that was my favorite thing other than stealing bases as well. So I would I've been watching baseball all my life. So what
Yeah.
I would do is that when I got to bat, I would like crouch so low. So my batting zone, my strike zone was very hard to hit.
Yeah.
And so I walked most of the time. I didn't even swing. I think maybe one time I swung the ball and I actually hit it by accident. I closed my
Yeah.
eyes and I hit it. I don't know how the hell I did it. And my
Yeah.
mom and dad weren't even there to watch it. So that's the funny part about that. But I would do the same thing. I would just steal a base, even if my coach would not tell me to do it, and I would still steal it. And then eventually they would sit me in the bench because I wouldn't listen. So I never stole home plate, but I did try to steal as many bases as I could before I got kicked out of the team because they realized this kid's afraid of the ball. He doesn't really want to play. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
think
we
baseball might have lucked out, us leaving and running benefited from that, right?
yeah I
But I
think
mean, think about the kids who stuck with it through high school and all
hmm
that. Like, unless they're literally in the major leagues right now, they're probably not
yeah
playing baseball, and
yeah
you can keep running. So
yeah
Yeah.
yeah
And I think that's what the greatness of our sport is that,
hmm
people can pick it up in their late 30s and there's no prerequisite for it. And it's a sport in which you can find purpose in it,
yeah
under any circumstance,
hmm
whether it's pushing yourself to do something you've not done, uh, including travel and the running aspect of it, meeting people. I always like the solitude of the long runs on it. So I
hmm
think we all find a different purpose in it because,
yeah
like, when I started back running, I had no desire or intention to compete. It was just, I just wanted to do it.
yeah
You did remind me talking about with baseball and starting running. I think, Hill, do you know the story about I was inspired by two things. And we, before moving to Arizona, we lived in Brooklyn, New York, and then New Jersey. And we lived a mile from school, and I was in third grade.
yeah
And different things in the 70s, it snowed. And so my mom was like, I'm not going to drive you. We live too close for the bus. So she put me in a snowsuit. So I'd walk a mile to and from
oh
school
wow
in the snow or whatever every
and it
single
was
day.
uphill both ways, and he was barefoot.
It was a completely flat course. There were no hills. But I honestly, I think that helped because it's like no matter if I wanted to or
yeah
not, if I wanted to get to school or get home, I had to walk that mile each way.
yeah
But the weirdest part of it, I'm thinking back on how running got into my head was I watched the 76 Olympic marathon and I saw the preview on it. And they did a whole thing on Frank Shorter and having won the gold medal in 72. And I was just
yeah
like fascinated by this and watching it. And afterwards, I was like, I want to be just like that. So I decided I was going to try to do a marathon in my basement.
Oh, is this with the ravioli?
No, yeah. So I thought marathoning was you just run and run and run. So like, I told my mom I was making ravioli for dinner, just, bring it down to the stairs. I'll take a little break from the running and I'll keep running. And so that's what I thought a marathon was. We had these giveaway things from a New York Mets game, these medallions, and it was like, okay, here's your marathon finishers medal, even though I
oh
didn't know
wow
that's what they do these days. And the craziest thing is, I actually had a chance to meet Frank Shorter before the rock and roll marathon in Arizona in one of the the first races. He was one of the race ambassadors,
Okay.
and they had a run with him. And I actually had a chance to go up, and I told him, you know, I got into running because of you. And they go, oh, really, really? And I said, yeah. I watched you in the '76 marathon, and I just was inspired to it, and I just ran all around my basement. I thought he was going to think this was the greatest story in the world, and he said,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Great.
Yeah, it was great. So it was a little bit of a come down, because here it is, like whole
Yeah.
life, inspired by Frank Shorter. Meet Frank Shorter, give him this story, and he was underwhelmed by it.
I can imagine that he probably gets that several times in one day or something like that.
Yeah, so it was very sometimes when you meet people who inspired you, it could be a little disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool meeting him, but I don't know what I expected him to say, like like, wow, you hold the world record in the basement marathon.
Yeah, so that's happened to me too. I've met some of people that I admire, and then I say hi to them, and it's in my head it played way different than what it was. So yeah, it's sometimes a letdown because you expect a lot more, and then you just get a kind of like a dismissal, kind of, yeah, okay, sure, and then walk away or something.
I will say this though, like runners though, like the professionals and the elites are so much different as far as their accessibility, and they're not like stars in other sports. I mean, you'd be amazed at wanting to strike up a conversation with you, and viewing that whatever you did that day was as courageous as maybe whatever they did to try to win or set a record. And I found most runners, and I've been fortunate to get a chance to meet a lot of my heroes when I was a kid, and actually got to run with one of them. And that was kind of one of the highlights of my running career, was getting to go out on a 6-mile run on Preece Trail with my hero.
Oh, wow.
From that time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's when you and Hillary went to Oregon, right? To the time trials?
We went for pre this year, but I went in high school. I did two summer camps at the University of Oregon. The track camp put on by Bill Dellinger, who was Steve Prefontaine's coach. And the distance counselor was Pat Tyson, who was Prefontaine's roommate. And ran with him at Oregon, and it was pretty cool because we'd get up in the morning for a morning run, and he'd take us on all these runs around Eugene and point out, here's where Pre ran. We did this here. And the first time I saw Pre's Rock, he took us up there in a morning run, and it was pretty. It was pretty moving to be there with somebody who knew him and to see that. So, Oregon had a big influence on me running wise. Their training principles from Bowerman and Dellinger are still, I think, the basis of what my coaching philosophy, the Oregon system. So I was very much influenced by getting to be up there. And when Hill was younger, we did a trip up the Pacific Coast, and we ended up going to an all-comers meet at Hayward, at the old Hayward Field. And this past year, it was awesome. We went up for the weekend for the pre-classic. And it was like when I was a kid running Nirvana, and we kept thinking about which runners can we spot, almost like, it
was a lot
of bingo of like, who would we meet, who could we see? And it was crazy the number of people that we got to talk to, bump into. And almost everybody was super, super gracious about taking photos or talking. I think the only person who was too busy to talk to anybody was Michael Johnson.
Yeah, he was interviewed by Sidious, and then he got off, and then he just left. We're like, wait. But every other person was like, oh, can I get a picture? Or he got an autograph for one of the runners on his team. I met Kara Goucher there, and I had her sign my shoe. And everybody was awesome. They're like, do it. And then even some of them, like, coming up on the track, because we had really good seats. We were right at the finish line. So where the athletes would exit the track to go back to wherever it is they go, they would pass right by us and stuff. And so I got a bunch of selfies with some of the athletes just for that one. I have one of just Josh Kerr, just thumbs up right behind me, like, so they're even game for stuff like that. Like, even if they're even if they're busy.
And some of them, and again, some of the runners are very unassuming. We're standing there watching the Sidious live cast, and I look over and standing by himself, he looks like this, lonely teenager, like no one's standing around him. And I go, hey, that's Hobbs Kessler.
Yeah.
And she's like, who? And I had to explain who Hobbs Kessler was. And so went over, he took pictures, and like nobody paid any attention to him. It was funny because then he would go on and have an amazing Olympics.
It was pre-Olympics, and I don't typically pay too much attention to like college athletes or high school athletes, like the up and coming people.
Yeah.
So he wasn't on my radar yet, even though that was only a year ago.
But it was crazy that like nobody was talking to him about anything.
Yeah.
Here was a kid who in high school was a sub 4-minute miler, went directly pros for Adidas, and he's just kind of standing there watching like we are. And I look, that's on that. But we had the same thing, like Valerie Allman, the Olympic gold medalist in the discus. Her last name is my wife's maiden name, and it's not a very common name, and so I got Hill's permission because, not to embarrass her, but we went up, we struck a conversation, and again, just super friendly, mentioned that, and Allman, our family, I don't know if our family's from that part of the country, and but we bumped into her like 2 other times.
Yeah, both times she remembered us.
She remembered us as, there's cousin Allman over there.
Wow.
And so, that trip was it was running heaven, because it just, I would recommend, if you love the sport, make a pilgrimage at some point in time to Eugene.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. I got to race on the original Hayward Field. The new one's spectacular, but it's just a great running town. And then the next day after the meet, we go over to Priest Trail, and we're standing there, and all of a sudden there's Josh Kerr, and hey, Josh. And that
was like the 3rd time we had seen him also. Like we had, so there was the selfie when he was coming off the track.
Yeah.
Then we saw him at the hotel, and he was talking to someone more important than us. He was
talking to his manager or somebody about making more money. And he stopped what he was doing.
Yeah.
And he was like the coolest guy. He just came over, and I said, hey, I got a runner that's a huge fan. Could you sign something? Do that. And
then I got a picture. Yeah.
And just the most down to earth. I mean, this guy's, sitting there, he just won the Bowerman Mile. He's, he's trying to advance his career financially. He's sitting there talking with either his agent or somebody from Brooks, and hey, sorry to interrupt. Can we? And just the coolest guy in the world.
So when we saw him at the trail, that was the 3rd time in 2 days that we had seen him. So it was kind of the same thing like with Valerie Allman. It's like, hey, it's us again. Here we are.
And then after the meet, we went over to the Nike store in downtown Eugene, and I'm like, look over, and I go, hey, Hill, that's Sha'Carri Richardson over there.
Oh yeah.
And so she gets a picture of Sha'Carri Richardson. I don't know. We had a who's who at the hotel. We had photos with
Yard the Goose. L-Shape Pierre, yeah.
So it was, when it comes down to it, we were basically just a bunch of fanboys in running heaven, and it was just like the coolest thing in the world, because when the sport matters to you and you go to some place where just like everywhere you look, there's some connection, at least for that weekend, So that was one of the most fun trips I've ever had.
No, and I got to live through Hillary's Instagram and a couple other friends that were actually there as well. And it looked amazing. I've always wanted to go up there as well. There's a race that they do there that ends in the track. And that's one of them I want to do, because slowly but surely I'm doing the 50 state challenge. So that's one race that I will do for my 50 state challenge.
I would recommend it. The Eugene Marathon is is a really, really good marathon. I mean, it runs through the city. You get a kind of good view of it, but it finishes in Hayward Field, and that's a pretty cool opportunity on that. And it's kind of cool to see Eugene have a marquee marathon, because for a while the city didn't have it. But if you go back to the 80s, they had one of the big ones was the Nike OTC Marathon, Oregon Track Club. Yeah, and that was in the early years of Nike, so that was a big thing. So, definitely, if you're a fan of the sport, you got to make a pilgrimage up there, and it's awesome.
Actually, that was when. So I know you had Hayden on your show at one point.
Yeah.
So that was the first time that I had met him. He and my whichever parent this is, that's my dad. He makes fun of me because we were staying at the same hotel, and he
Okay.
recognized me from Instagram, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know you." And so he makes fun of me. It's like, "Oh, you got recognized by someone in out in the wild."
Yeah.
But yeah, he was there watching it, and he's another fairly new runner, and so he
Yeah.
made the pilgrimage out there and everything, and so it's definitely one of those things that multiple times if you can, but at least once.
No, definitely it's something
And
I
I
want to
had
do.
fun.
Yeah.
I had fun embarrassing her in Eugene after that person at the hotel recognized her from Instagram. I made her watch a clip from Woody Allen's 1976 Academy Award winning movie Annie Hall,
Yeah.
where he gets spotted by somebody as he's walking out of a movie theater, and
Hmm.
this guy just like, I know you from somewhere, and when he said, "You're on TV, the Johnny Carson," and he goes, "No, no, no," and he's trying to downplay it. "No, no, you are. Yeah, tell you are." And he goes, "What you tell me your name?" Elvie Singer, Elvie Singer, and then he's just pointing to everybody like this is a person. So I kept doing. We'd be going places, and hey, hey, this is running up that Hillary right here, running up that Hillary.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So
And
we were recreating a scene from Annie Hall, and uh, she did not like it.
It was ridiculous.
that's comedy gold for sure, and I'm pretty sure we'll get to the embarrassing moments of Hillary. I'm pretty sure because the dad's here. You got to give us at least something. But I wanted to tell you something because you were talking about Michael Johnson. I don't know why I thought it would be a great idea. I sent him an email to see if he wanted to be on my podcast, and he actually answered. I actually
Really?
got an answer. So even though he rejected me, I felt pretty cool because I'm pretty sure it wasn't even him. Someone that
Yeah,
works with him. They were very nice and graceful. They let me down very nicely by saying that although they would love to do it, he has a
yeah,
very busy schedule. And I was like, well, at least I got a nice rejection letter because even on some of the people that I've invited that are obviously not at that level
yeah.
of his fame and what he did, um, they don't even respond. They won't even say, I can't do it. I
Right.
get ghosted basically. So I think I even printed out the email and I
The
have it in my
email.
wall and I said, man, this is awesome. Even though I got
That's really
rejected,
cool.
it's so awesome that somebody must have told them or hopefully told them, and at least I got some sort of acknowledgement.
That's
So
how I feel. Like if like Kara Goucher or like Dina Castor, if one of them comments on one of my photos or something, like it just
yeah,
makes my whole day. Like it just that I get excited every single time.
yeah. I posted some like stories and some runners have actually reposted it, and oh my God, I feel like I'm a celebrity or something like
Yeah.
that. So it's kind of cool to get that acknowledgement from people that are super busy because I know that guy is so
Yeah.
busy, but when you said that he didn't take pictures, I was like, man, don't you're not the only one. He
Yeah.
rejected me nicely, but he rejected
Nice.
me.
In all fairness to Michael Johnson, now we know why he was probably there and what he had going
Hmm.
on and why he was not stopping and doing meet and greets is the Grand Slam Track League
Yeah.
that's coming up with four meets coming up now and a lot going on to that and his efforts to try to raise the profile of the sport
Yeah.
so be fair to Michael Johnson, he had a
Oh
lot
yeah.
more going on than to have to stop and get a picture with a couple of fanboys.
Oh no, yeah, I get it. He's definitely busy, and I'm glad someone's trying to do that for the runners and whatnot because they definitely don't get the recognition that they should. Because man, these people are amazing. They run so fast and they do things that half of the population can't do. So it's really really cool to see that. But like I said, I did definitely want to go see the track and all that and race that the Eugene race because uh, I know it's kind of like the mecca of running over there. That's one of the biggest places to run, and to participate in these runs and watch these meets, man. It's amazing. So I definitely I want to do that. And another reason why I love Oregon, other than running, is that my quarterback from the Chargers was a Oregon Duck. So I have to always be faithful to the Oregon.
I age myself. Is that Dan Fouts?
Oh no, this is the newest one. Dan Faust is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but
all right.
Our newest quarterback, No, it's Justin Herbert for
okay.
He played in Oregon, so of course we got some we have to be faithful to the Oregon, so he can win us some games in NFL now. But yeah, it's awesome. But let's get into the Hillary bash. So tell me one like memory that you have of her that made you realize that she was going to be a runner, and that was going to be what she was going to do, like her sport.
I don't think early on that I saw that this would be something that she would be doing later, because I mean, Hillary's ability and success has been in so many diverse different things. So, she's excelled in a lot. I think what I admired about her running was, she ran for the high school where I coached, and she made it as our number 7 on cross country. And so, it wasn't in the limelight, but I always admired the fact that she did it for her own reasons.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because she was trying to get approval from me, or that I had expectations for her. And I never put those expectations on her, because if she was going to do the sport, I wanted her to find the joy in it, and so and she went on to become a pole vaulter during track season. And
nice.
I have no experience in that whatsoever, but I cheered her doing that as much as if she had decided to run some of the distance events, because it's a very difficult technical event. It takes incredible upper body strength, speed coming down the runway, all of those, the acrobatics on it. And so it was pretty cool to see her do a part of track and field that was outside of my expertise. And watch her really love doing it. And she was, worked out with some of the, for pole vault, it's kind of like its mini little cult. You have a number of few coaches who are really pole vault coaches. So all the people serious about pole vault will go and train in the off season. And so it was cool to just kind of see her develop that event. And ultimately it was cool to get to watch her at the state meet in Arizona.
Nice. And why pole vaulting, Hillary?
So honestly, partially because I didn't want to run, but there was no way I was going to not do track.
Okay.
That was to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Track that was a given. My dad was the coach. I did it in middle school, and so I was going to do it, but it looked like it was going to be fun. I liked doing tumbling sorts of things, and I was a kid on the field doing cartwheels and stuff. I liked that kind of stuff. So it seemed like it was fun. And so it was I didn't actually expect to be any good at it. I was just oh, that'll be fun. And I'll still be on the track team. We do warm-ups as a group, and it'll be fun. And then if I'm terrible, then I can always go and run the 32 or the 16.
That's interesting. And
yeah.
I never knew that about you, because I've had you a couple of times and you've never mentioned this. So that's interesting. That's actually pretty awesome. But
I can say it. Maybe someday she'll show the clip. There was she wrote a piece for Team Magazine in Phoenix. And she wrote about pole vaulting.
Yeah, I'll have to send you that. Yeah, about why I'm a pole vaulter, and I have it somewhere. I think Johanna, my aunt, his sister, saved it. You have a copy too? Okay.
Yeah, I definitely want to see this. I need to see this. I want to see.
I don't know how embarrassing that is, but I think a lot of people in the running world who maybe follow Hill don't
Hmm.
know that, she kind of deviated into a totally different sphere for that. And I think that honestly, the no pressure on her, I think,
Hmm.
is why she continues to run and
Yeah.
find purpose in it.
Hmm.
Um, as a high school coach, I've seen many times where just parents can ruin the kids' love for the sport
Yeah.
and their success because they go overboard on it and they
Yeah.
forget that it's a 4-year process.
Hmm.
And so, I've I did not want her to experience that. And that's one of the things as a coach today that I still try to do is, with kids, even if they show talent early, is, we're going to bring you along over the 4 years of high school because,
Yeah.
that development in your cardio system, the physical maturation, the racing
Yeah.
experience, the improvement of, running economy and those kind of things. I've seen kids go from like back of the Packers clapped in to we just had a kid at our school became our first state medalist in cross country. And
Oh,
if you would have
wow.
said as a sophomore that he was going to be, you know, medaling at the Texas State cross country meet, and then he's going to run collegiately next year at Trinity here in San Antonio.
Oh, nice.
Um, so that's what I like to see in the athletes is not somebody having everything drained out of them when they're young. And because I've been there, I wish I
Hmm.
had that. And I tell my athletes that all the time that one of my motivating things is I want them to have as best experience as they can, and that when
Yeah.
they walk across the stage at graduation, that it's, hey, been there, done it. It's a great experience. I'm ready for the next thing. That would have, could have, should have.
Yeah.
I don't want a kid living with what I had as a runner, and that's a lot of would have, could have, should have.
Yeah.
And like
That's.
sports like gymnastics, you
Hmm.
have such a small window, so the intensity and everything,
Yeah.
it's all like, oh well, if you don't do great now, then you never will. And
Hmm.
with running, I mean, we see people late 30s, 40s winning these races. Edna Kiplagat won Boston at what, like 42?
Yeah.
Um, I think Meb was 39, and so it's there's no reason to have that pressure either. I mean,
Yeah.
pressure isn't great in gymnastics either, but you do objectively have the smaller window for
No,
time.
for sure, for sure. And I think to have a long like longevity, like you said, Mike, is very, very important to, take it easy and enjoy the process, when it
Yeah,
comes to running, because I've learned it the hard way. I've had some injuries that I could have prevented that definitely sidelined me for much longer than what it would have if I would have stopped running, and
right.
definitely when you do when you have someone on your side that knows what they're doing, which like yourself, it's good to have them because you can guide them and teach them that there's gonna be more. If something didn't go right today, you don't have to hurt yourself by doing it more and getting hurt or something. So that's really awesome. I wish a lot of people thought like that. And let the kids have fun. I think it's a little bit of everything in any sport. Like I'll give you an example. My brother, he has my nephew. He was skateboarding at the age of 12, and he was doing tricks and doing all these crazy things in a very advanced stage of his age, and the sport of skateboarding came to my nephew like a job because my brother expected him to skate every single day, and the kid wanted to be a kid sometimes and say, oh, I want to go play with my friends. Nope, we got to go to the skate park. And I would always tell him, like, dude, like, let him have fun. Let him have fun, because you don't want to pressure them too much to the point where they hate the sport that they like. It's not a job, it's not a hobby, but it's something that if they're that good, they will eventually, get better and within time. So I agree, and I'm glad that you're doing that for your kids, and that you're taking care of them and teaching them how to be patient and whatnot. Because I'm pretty sure, I don't know what grades you teach. You said high school, right?
Yeah, I coach. I coach in the San Antonio metro area,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously I want kids to have fun, but our kids are highly competitive
Yeah.
at this, but I always deal with them with a 4-year plan.
Yeah.
And bringing them along with that, as opposed to just trying to get everything out of them. Because I've seen too many times, both in Arizona and here in Texas, where you'll see
Mm-hmm.
it, superstar high school kids, and then they get to a D1 school for scholarship, and then they don't do anything, and it's because they've been drained dry, or they get burned out and want to do it, or they can't adapt to the fact that they're no longer the person, that they're not, that everybody there was them in their state
Mm-hmm.
on that. So, but even though I train athletes competing cross country and track, I try to instill in them that you can do this sport the rest of your life. And so a lot of basic running principles. I mean, these kids know the hard, easy concept. Listen to your body. My job is to keep them from being hurt. Some kids can handle higher mileage than other kids. And so you never cookie cutter your working program.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have workouts, you may have planned you want to do this, but as you're watching your runners and their posture change or the breathing change, you realize you need to adapt it and adapt it to where, hey, we're going to maybe cut it here because you want the kid leaving confident and fulfilled, as opposed to I didn't get through it. So, I will share one thing that was really cool of coaching and seeing a runner progress from freshman year on and staying healthy. Our kids competed at a meet held in San Marcos at Texas State University. And so we had our runners were running there, and it was really cool. But one of the top runners I coached here in San Antonio, she runs for Texas State. And it was pretty cool. She came out just to visit. And so we visited there for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours as events were going on, and just talking about what she did in high school and how did it set her up for success in college, because she wasn't injured. And so to see that she's still running and carrying it to there, and it was awesome. I think those relationships and seeing kids go on for that success. And so it's what I try to do with all of them. And so, and I've been real fortunate. I had some good mentors in coaching. And I think coaching, if you do it long enough, you make mistakes and things that you would say or do differently on programs. But I think everything makes you better at it. So I think these days, without a doubt, I think I'm much better than when I started or even early in it. But I was fortunate to have some good mentoring coaches, particularly a guy named Jeff Korn was a longtime coach at the high school where I ended up at, and became a good friend of our families. And
he still is.
Still is.
Yeah.
And so
that's awesome.
So you learn from the good, the bad, and all of those things. But so I feel real fortunate that teaching is my primary occupation, but that I also get to be around young runners, and because our kids run year round for cross and track. And so it's cool to be involved in that sport, and it's cool to see kids develop over those years. And then it's even more rewarding when you see a kid, like I mentioned earlier, who goes from being clapped in as a sophomore to now is going to run in college to an athlete you work with it from freshman year who is still running healthy and is running, for Division I. So
who was the kid? Remember, I had one race and he was working at Fleet Feet, and one of your runners. Yeah. So he even people who, I don't know if he ran collegiately, but still within the running world.
Oh yeah. That's an interesting thing. Yeah. One of my runners here in San Antonio wasn't a varsity runner. I'm not going to use any names, and I don't think he would contest it. It's the worst form I've ever seen in a runner. I mean, he looked like he was in rigor mortis.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and that's not an exaggeration. And his diet was the worst diet I've ever seen in a runner. And no matter what we did to try to work on his form or his diet, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
But Hill was running a road race, and I get there, and I was like, hey, that's one of my former guys. I went up to him, and it turns out like he ended up being like the area PR for Fleet Feet in San Antonio metro area.
Oh, wow.
So like he was able to parlay his love of the sport into make, an early career on that. And so, you see people love the sport and success in all different ways. He
Yeah.
wasn't the prettiest runner, but obviously there was something about the sport that he was passionate about, that he would get into the business side of it. And
Yeah.
so it was cool to see that, as much as seeing a kid that's gonna run collegiately. That
Yeah.
so yeah, that was very, very different, and pretty cool to see.
No, that's awesome. The fact that you got to see one of your, student athletes and still running, like you said, and they attest to what you taught them in high school has helped them to be in college and performing still and running healthy and whatnot. That's awesome. I think for a coach, that's like the ultimate reward, that knowing that, you have influence somebody in a positive way to take care of themselves and teach them the ropes, and now they're running again in a collegiate atmosphere. And even like the rigor mortis guy, that he still loves it, maybe in a different way, but
Yeah.
he's making a living off of it, because
Yeah.
he loved it.
I thought it was absolutely cool, because I was just astounded on that. I told him I was really proud of him. I thought that was really cool that, like, he found a way to make running part of his actual livelihood,
Yeah.
and that he was able to build on his experiences. So
Yeah.
I think it comes down to, I think this sport has a place for everybody.
Oh yeah.
And you find purpose in it. You
Hmm.
don't have to be a front runner. You don't have to have the best form. But so I think that's what makes running awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's something that with this podcast I've learned. It doesn't matter if you're the last person to finish a race or you're the first one to win it. And I've had a little bit of everything in the middle. But everybody always says the same. There's always space for somebody in this sport, no matter what. So it's definitely something that I've taken. I cherish about this sport, because when I started, I did not have the guidance, or I just knew I wanted to do it, and I knew I was okay at it, and it helped with my mental health as well. So it really came in at the right time. But now that I've been doing it for 5, 6 years, I really see that family atmosphere that running does. You never, at least for me, I've never been in a place where someone will talk another runner down because they're slower. You know, like other sports that they tend to do that competitively. Of course, I understand, but this sport is for everybody. From the one that thinks that just because they walk most of the race is not really running a race, to the person that wins the race. It's amazing how we lift each other up, and I've never seen any other sport that does that in the way that
I mean,
running does.
you're right. I mean, there's so many life metaphors that you can use.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually have a tattoo of Bible verse: "Let us run with perseverance the race set before us." And it's running and the challenges in life are one and the same. And
Yeah.
so I try to pass along to my high school athletes, is that knowing how to work hard, deal with setback,
Hmm.
and success alike will be something you're going to be able to use the rest of your life. And that being a student athlete is a gift, because you're going to have something that kids not doing it don't have. And
Yeah.
you're talking about the sportsmanship aspect. I mean, we'll go to, like, really big meets here in Texas, and,
Hmm.
kids want to beat their competition without a doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
very, very, but they're dead exiting the finish chute, but you'll see the kids come up to the other kid and put his arm around him and go, "Man, dude, man, thanks for pushing me today. Oh, that, great race, great race." And
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it last week in a meet that we hosted at our school.
Hmm.
There were guys just pushed each other to a really great time, and afterwards, they're kind of dead on the infield, and some guy comes up to my runner and just pat him up. Good man, I appreciate that. And you just don't see that in a whole lot of sports.
Yeah, yeah, because you could be competitive. You want to beat obviously your opponent, but at the end of the day, once everything is said and done, you could still be uh, grateful for that person. Like you said, man, that person really pushed me, to
Yeah.
do better and whatnot. And that's something that happens in every single race, at least for me. Like this last race that I did it here locally in Seabrook, there was this guy that was right in front of me all the time. And at the end, he pushed and he helped me push to finish strong. And when we finished, I went up to him and he's like, "Man, thank you for pushing me. But I was right behind you and trying to keep up with you. If it wasn't for that, I probably would have started walking or something." And he's like, "No, no problem. You did great." And that's the type of things that I like. That help each other. People push each other. It's competitive, but there's still that aspect of
Right.
appreciating one to another. But it's awesome. But one question. So Hillary, how long did you coach Hillary? You just coached her for middle school?
No, I coached her. I watched her run in middle school. She decided she wanted to run cross country and track in middle school, and it was
Okay.
cool to go to those meets and see her compete and be a dad
Yeah.
and watch her, do her best on that. And I coached. She ran on our cross country team at the high school, the first high school I started coaching at, and so it was pretty cool. She actually decided to come to our high school.
Mm-hmm.
The high school she was supposed to go to in our district was literally around the corner from our house.
Yeah.
But she had grown up with,
going to track meets, watching his athletes, and I knew I wanted to run not only cross country, but I wanted to run for his team. Like I wanted to be on that team. So I got a boundary exception so I could go to his school and run for him.
And it was
awesome.
pretty cool because she didn't know anybody at the high school. I mean, she had gone to elementary school and middle school with the same kids in the neighborhood. And she wanted to go to the high school I was at. And, I will tell you, it was probably one of the most enjoyable things was teaching and coaching where your kid was at. I mean, you'd be surprised. It was a huge school. You don't see each other that often on the campus, but it was cool that she wanted to go there. But I will share one funny thing that happened. My wife and I were watching TV one night, and Hillary comes in with some friends from school, and this one guy looks over and he's looking at me like, "Wait a minute." And turns to Hillary and go, "Why is my English teacher sitting on your couch?" And she turned to him and go,
put the two together.
and she was like, "You idiot! That's my father. You put together the last name, right?"
Yeah.
Or the slight resemblance.
In some way. I was just, why is my English teacher sitting on your couch? So, but it was cool because she established friends that she still keeps in touch with, and I think that was one of the coolest experiences as a high school. Next year is going to be my 25th year, and one of the most enjoyable things was the fact that I had a kid who wanted to go to the school where I was at and put aside familiarity and all those things to take that big leap. And that was one of the best 4 years as a teacher.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then he also was my coach, actually. So when I went to college, that's when I ran my first half marathon.
Okay.
And so he wrote out my plan to train for that. And he was there for that. I sent you the photo for that one. So the 2012 Rock and Roll San Antonio half marathon. He did my training plan for that. He did my training plan for what was supposed to be my first marathon. So that was the 2014 New York City Marathon. And I've told that story on Instagram. I don't know if you know it, but that is when I ended up pregnant with my oldest. Yeah. I call him Miles on social media, but so I ended up not running the race, but he did. He was my coach for that. And then he goes to the pretty much any of my races that he's able to do. He drove me to and from Austin a month ago so that I could not only run it, but so that I didn't have to stay the night.
Nice.
And it's been fun going to these things as just the support crew. Yeah. And watching it and such, it's like when you coach and teach the weekend, if you have a little downtime, is a good deal. But I think it's fun going to these different events. With her and and seeing the love that she's gained for the sport. And
Yeah.
I truly think the reason she runs long term is because there's no undue pressure to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see that. And I mean, I'll text her during the races, and she'll say she's feeling crappy, and I'll revert.
He goes back to coach mode.
I go back to coach mode and tell her, look, you just need to, black shoulders, chin up, come up, watch your form, think about it,
Yeah.
start focusing on it. What's your mantra? Let's get that, focusing on that. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of cool. And then to get to see through the finish line.
Yeah.
And like to hear him on the sidelines, it's like the same thing I've been hearing since my first 5K.
Yeah.
It'll be 26 years ago this year.
Oh, wow.
And he's been at the elementary school races, junior high school, my first half marathons in college, all through my 20s. My first marathon at 30, he was there.
Mm-hmm.
He was there in New York City when I finally, at the 10-year anniversary of not running New York City, I finally did the race. He was there for that, and so it's just. And he's good he's like, a lot of people can't do this, but he's very good at course hopping.
Yeah.
Like my husband will bring the kids to the finish line because he does not have the ability or the confidence to even try to like go to all these different places. So he's just like, we will be at the finish.
Yeah.
But my dad, like he's very good at course hopping. And so, and just hearing him, all right, let's go, Hill. Like it's the same. It's like he sounds exactly the same that he has been, no matter if it was a 5K at the age of 7 or a cross country race or being in my mid 30s running road races.
Yeah.
One cool experience of doing that, of getting to different spots, was when we were in New York last year.
Mm-hmm.
My grandson and I, we were traveling. We had to take a whole bunch of different subway changes to get to Queens to a certain mile mark.
Yeah.
And we kept waiting for people to, see their loved ones and move so we could move further to the curb because there's so many people there.
Yeah.
And trying to tell my grandson, just relax. They'll be here. Well, how much longer? And we're following on it. And all of a sudden, hey, there's your mom. And he got all excited about on that. And so it's been a good, fun family thing. And so, it's cool to share that experience. It's especially as a dad, when you have grown kids, that you have those. Like my other daughter and I share a passion for the Phoenix Suns.
Oh, nice.
And boy, it takes a whole lot to stay a fan of that franchise. But I've been a fan since 1977 when we moved to Phoenix. But she kept her fanhood from when she was a kid and growing up in Phoenix. No, I mean, your kids are growing up Spurs fans.
Yeah. I'm not part of this. My sister.
But it's kind of cool, like running is our thing. We'll go do this, and my other daughter, I mean, she's like diehard, Phoenix Suns, and she gets mad at me if we go to a Spurs game when the Suns are there, and I say anything good about the Spurs as being a real great franchise, and she's like, really. She gets so mad at that, like I'm betraying a team that I've liked and followed longer than she's walked on the earth.
Oh, wow.
But so it's cool to share those things with your kids.
Oh yeah. And I'm envious in the best way and jealous in the best way, because out of my family, I'm the only one that runs. Nobody else does it. So I don't have that connection per se, like my parents wanting to go to New York. Like when I ran New York the first time, I told them like a year in advance. I told them, don't make any plans. I would love for you guys to go see me run in New York because it's a big race, and they forgot and they were in Europe. So there's never been like that connection. So that's cool to see that, y'all, do these things as a team.
I will also say on the family side. So I also run with my brother sometimes. He's much more of a sprinter, but I know my dad went and He has some military test or something coming up. He's yeah, something. And so my dad went out to time him for his training and stuff. So he does that stuff. And then my mom doesn't run a ton, but she is like the ultimate coach's wife and supporter. Like she goes to a ton of his meets to support his team.
Yeah.
She's probably even better than he is at the course navigation stuff and popping up at 900 different spots. And so it really is like a full-on family affair. Like it's all five of us.
And then my favorite thing is we drive in a car and she starts to comment about somebody's form.
Oh yeah.
We're out driving and all the time, because she's so used to, the big thing you want with young runners is to establish, good form. I mean, for efficiency and injury prevention, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And so we're driving through a neighborhood and she goes, God, that person's got the worst form in the world. and it's like, well, yeah, you're absolutely right. But what do you want me to do? I'm going to hop out of the car right here. And go,
get off and tell them.
Yeah, but my wife has pointed out that
you don't know me, but I'm a coach, and my wife thinks your form is absolutely horrible.
So she knows a ton about running. Yeah, she knows a ton about running. So even like family members that don't want to do it themselves, like there's so many ways to be ingrained in the sport.
Yeah. And that's amazing. Funny thing is that this race that you did, Hillary, was officially the first time that we've ever met in person when we cheered.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that until you mentioned that. I was like, oh, like I was thinking back, like the races we've been at the same time and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess we didn't. Like Berlin, we didn't run into each other.
Yeah. Didn't you say that we were almost at the same spot?
Yeah, my dad was like 4 feet. He was, of course, on the uphill. So you got, like, your clip of me is really good because I had, like, gotten to the top of the hill. So I'm like, all right, this is cool. My dad was, like, when the hill was, like this steep, I needed to use, like, the little pickaxe and everything to climb up it.
Yeah.
That's where he was. And then, so y'all were probably maybe 20 yards away from each other cheering. But crazy. I didn't even and then Houston, I was supposed to, and then I was like near death at Houston. And so I didn't even realize that until you mentioned it. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, it was the first time. And I almost missed you. The one that actually told me where you were was my fiance. She's like, oh, I think Hillary's about to pass by already. I'm like, and I kept on telling her, I think she already passed. I'm pretty sure she already passed for some reason. And then right when that happened, I saw you and you looked great. You were doing great. And crazy thing is you had just hit the halfway point basically, a little bit more. But you look great. And you definitely got that little jolt of energy right when we saw you.
Yeah.
I made sure to yell.
Because you can see it. I'm like, all right, I made it up the hill. And then I hear you. I'm like,
yeah, when I saw the video for the first time, I was like, oh my God, I am embarrassing. I can't believe I yelled that loud. But I had to, because I didn't know if you were gonna hear me. So I was like, I need to like out scream everybody. So
it's appreciated. Honestly, I don't think there's anybody out there who, if someone's gonna show up and cheer for them, I don't have any reservations on how loudly you do it, what your sign says, what it is you're yelling, just the fact that people show up out there and are cheering at all, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It definitely helps you when you're feeling a little low, or you're feeling a little tired, or your head is already kind of playing tricks on you sometimes. Having that person or somebody yell your name and tell you got this, or anything, like you said, anything, it could be even a bad word, and that might even pump you up even more,
and like random spectators too. Like there's been, I don't even know how many times in races towards the end, not even just full marathons, but half marathons as well, where it's towards the end and I am visibly not thriving. And so someone who I've never met before is just like, all right, come on, you got this. Like specifically to me, not just out to everything, but like eye contact, like cheering me on. I've never seen you before, but you're out at this race and putting in the effort to actually encourage strangers. And it's pretty awesome.
No, it is, and it's amazing to see somebody, especially if it's so special to hear someone that you don't know, but when you see a familiar face,
Oh yeah.
that's amazing. But I had a question about the coaching part when you were with your dad, but this is more for your dad. So,
Mhm.
um, was she a good student where she listened to you, or she was difficult?
No, she was easy to coach. I
You
mean,
can tell me the
she
truth. You can tell me the
no,
truth. That's okay.
in all sincerity, she was easy to coach because I was very fortunate. We had a lot of
Yeah.
really good athletes at our school on the team, and so if you were coming new into the program, you had people modeling for you the work ethic and what we do, but also including the fun aspect
Yeah.
of being in high school cross country. So it was never difficult at all. She was another member of the team,
Yeah.
and as long as she was enjoying it and having fun and finding purpose, and
Yeah.
it was cool to see her, really, pushing to try to get that final varsity seven spot, and
Yeah.
we that was as rewarding as watching some of our kids who were going to go and run at state.
Nice.
So no, I wish I could give you an embarrassing thing on that, but I can't. She was real easy to coach, but I think part of it is as a coach, if you can establish a program where the kids know what's expected and kind of do stuff on their own, like our track practices. I get out for my last period class just as the kids are starting to warm up for during track season.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be out there and tell them what to do. I mean, I get out there and they're already doing
They
their
already
warm up
know.
run dynamics and all that. And so you just try and still doing the right stuff as opposed to
Hmm.
having to yell or I tell it. And so I coached her the way that I coach everybody. But
Yeah.
I even use the same things that I do with my runners with Hill. Because not everyone has a good race.
Yeah.
But like after each of my runners race, I'll talk to them and say, "Hey, all right, tell me something that went well today."
Hmm.
We talk about that. All right, what can we do different next time?
Yeah.
And I constantly preach to them after it. The greatest thing about our sport, there's always another race. You got to
Yes.
brush it, you got to shake it off,
Yeah.
and move on to the next deal, whatever. And so I don't know. I think I've used those things when she ran for me in high school. I think even today. And you were talking about this hearing the support during track season.
Hmm.
I position myself on the back stretch by
Yeah.
like the 200-meter mark, because on the home stretch you got all people in the stands cheering, but on the back stretch where it's quiet and where there could be a letdown
Yeah.
in momentum or intensity,
Yeah.
they can hear you, and I think that's one of those deals where you can yell to the runner, "Hey, you need to relax up top. Let's open up our stride. Stick with this person here. Don't let it not be a gap," and they respond because they're able to hear you.
Yeah.
And like in track, that sometimes in Western Haywood Field, that's one of the loneliest parts is that backstretch. So
Yeah.
I try.
Especially his runners because he's distance, so they're either running 4 or 8 laps.
Yeah.
So they're out there for a little while.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
and you wanted an embarrassing story? I got.
Yes.
It's not too embarrassing.
Which one?
Okay. One of Hillary's big heroes is Kara Goucher.
Yes.
Okay, loves Kara Goucher.
Yeah.
And when we were in Eugene, the whole thing was, will we bump into Kara Goucher, or can we find out where Kara Goucher is? Well, we bumped into Meb Keflezighi's brother, who's an agent for a number of the runners.
Mhm.
And like, "Hey, do you know where we might be able to find?" And he was like, "Oh, I'll send her a text or whatever." Well, we weren't going to rely on just that. So we get to the pre-meet, and like, I used to be a journalist, and one of the things in journalism is if you want a story, you're going to do whatever legally
Yeah.
to get it, not be deterred by it, and figure
Mhm.
a way. And so I'm like looking we're between events, and I'm looking to my right, and there's Lewis Johnson from NBC interviewing people. Kara Goucher does the distance races for NBC.
Yeah.
Between commercial breaks, Lewis Johnson's not doing anything. So I said, "Hill, go talk to Lewis Johnson and ask, is Kara Goucher here? And if so, where?" She comes back and goes, "Yeah, she's way up there in the media thing." So the meet ends and everybody's leaving, and we're going upstairs to the second level to the very top of Hayward Field where the broadcast is.
Yeah.
And like people are coming down, and we're like moving through, excuse me, please, to get up
Yeah.
the stairs. And all of a sudden we're up the stairs and we look, and there's Kara Goucher. And it was
Oh
like,
my God.
Yeah.
and she had just finished the broadcast, and Hill goes up, and it was the coolest thing to watch them have a conversation.
Yeah.
And she signed her shoe, and then she took the shoe off.
Well, I didn't want to mess it up. And this was like the second time I had worn those shoes. So they were in my second box from Brooks last year, and which I got literally like 2 days before we left for Eugene. And so I ran in them one time. And then I was like, oh, I'll run on them. They're going to be the only pair of shoes that I bring to Eugene because they're comfy for during the day, but then also I can run in them. So I don't need to have other shoes while I'm there. But then she signed it. So I'm like, well, I can't wear this anymore. Like it'll get messed up, but I didn't bring any other shoes. So I walked around with Eugene.
Yeah, we would get out of Ubers. We were at like Purdy's Rock, and she's standing there without a shoe, and then seeing all the people who leave their shoes at Purdy's Rock. You know?
So I left the other shoe there.
So she left the other shoe there, so she had no shoes. So we get in thing, and then we get to Fifth Place Market in downtown Eugene, and she's walking around with no shoes. And so we ended up going into, Eugene has two really, really good run stores, Eugene Running Company and Run Hub Northwest. And we ended up, hey, there's Run Hub Northwest, and she goes in. And
I was just in socks, and my socks were at like holes, and they were like black and muddy. And at this point, like I need some shoes because I don't have any.
So we ended up going into a run shop that we bumped into downtown Eugene, and ended up getting shoes. But she was walking around like in her socks because
this was multiple hours.
Because one shoe was signed by Kara Goucher and the other was left at Purdy's Rock.
That's awesome. That's amazing. But
my favorite was going up those stairs though, because it was like something out of Seinfeld. Where all the kids are getting this. There's a fire in the kitchen, and George Costanza is running out and pushing the kids aside to get out to the curb, and then tries to tell people he was doing that because he wanted to direct the firefighters.
Yeah,
and we're like running up, and there's like old people, little kids on the stairs, and we're we got to get up to the very top of Hayward Field.
So I didn't want to miss her.
Yeah,
and we get up there and like literally out of breath. There she is, and she was just the coolest, and that's just the way I've found runners to be, whether they're world class runners or the person running around your neighborhood. But so it was kind of cool to see for her to get to meet. And then the other person was Shalane Flanagan.
Oh yeah,
she loves Shalane. Did I get you that book, the cookbook? Okay, her cookbook.
You gave me the cookbook. You also gave me the Ambi Burfoot ones that she did the foreword for.
Okay,
the first ladies of running.
So we're at the Eugene Airport, getting ready to come back to Texas, and the airport is not very big there. Okay, there's like one terminal.
Okay.
I mean, one terminal, a number of gates. Well, we're standing there waiting, and you bump into world-class runners because they got to take the same airplanes back.
Yeah.
Like we saw
Jake Whiteman from Great Britain.
Okay.
We're striking a conversation with him, and it turns out the person he was talking to was Steve Cram, and I didn't recognize him, which is surprising because I normally do. One of the great milers of the 1980s and early 90s. The Sebastian Coe, Steve Ovett, and then Steve Cram came along.
Yeah,
he was there. But then I started looking, coming out of one of the arrivals were Oregon athletes. You can see the backpacks and stuff. And then it struck me, Oregon was just at the NCAA regionals. Shalane Flanagan is now the women's coach at Oregon.
Oh wow!
Hill, we need to watch all the people coming out of that gate and exiting, walking through. We're looking through, and all of a sudden I'm like, there's Shalane Flanagan, and I push her into motion.
And she's walking, and I walk next to her. Hi. I get a picture.
At first, I think because at first it was sort of like okay.
Oh my God.
So we were able to, even waiting for an airplane, meet two top, British runners, and then she gets to meet Shalane Flanagan.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
So those are my embarrassing stories, but it was kind of cool coming home because we were like talking about was there anybody like that we saw at the meet that we didn't really get a chance to meet. And even for myself, I met a runner from way back that like people my generation, Paul Turgut, former world record holder, marathon, probably one of the greatest all-around distance runners ever, world champion in cross country, medalist on the track, world medalist in the marathon, world record holder in the marathon. And, you know, there he is. He's just an agent for a number of the African runners, and like nobody's paying attention. And I'm like,
Ashton Eaton was like 2 feet from us.
Oh yeah, and Ashton Eaton, the greatest decathlete in America, he's like up on just on the stairs just behind us. I'm like, hey, there's Ashton Eaton. She runs up. So like she posted all these things. We had the coolest fanboy weekend of running in history. I don't think there was, the only person that we didn't really get to see up close was Jakob Ingebrigtsen. He got beat. He shook everybody's hands. He was a good sportsman, but then he vaporized. He disappeared.
He was ready to get out.
He was nowhere, because we're standing there as the runners were coming up where our seats were to do all the media interviews with NBC. So they're walking straight up, and so here's why am I getting blank? Just won the gold medal in the 1500.
Cole Hawker?
Yeah, Cole Hawker is walking right by us. Cooper Terry is walking right by us. Jake Wetman is walking by us. Ollie Orr is walking right by us. Josh Kerr is walking right by us. All these people, and we kept looking, and the one person who did not come off of that Bowerman mile was Ingebrigtsen. He just, I mean, he's pretty fast, so he disappeared pretty quickly too. But like everybody else went up and passed there. But he's the only person like we really didn't get.
Safan Hassan as well. Because I don't even remember. I think she did the 5K, but I can't even remember what she raced. It was a pretty like not up to her typical racing. So I think she wanted to get out of there as well. I do have an embarrassing story about my dad from that.
Yes.
Trip,
okay.
I thought of this. So another person that we met while we were there.
No, this is horrible.
So. There was this statue of Bill Bowerman, who would have been born in like 1902. Like, I mean, I don't know exactly, but a long time ago. He's also been dead for a long time. Yeah. So we're taking a picture, and then this old man is right there as well, and he's also taking a picture with the statue. This guy is probably mid-80s, and he says Bill Bowerman was my dad. And then my dad goes, "You're Bill Bowerman's dad?" I'm like, Dad, for him to be Bill Bowerman's dad, he would have been born in like 1875. Like, how old do you think this?
He officially is the oldest man in this planet.
I mean, it was pretty cool because he was struggling to get a photo, so Hill goes and takes a camera, and so it was kind of cool for her take a picture of Bowerman's son with his dad's statue, right? I mean, this iconic, the co-founder of Nike, the legendary Oregon coach.
This was right after the Bowerman Mile.
Bowerman Mile, and so I got confused on it, like, but she would not let me live it down, like going back to the hotel the rest of the night. And then she goes online, and I'm like scrolling through Instagram, and she's like telling the story about how stupid her dad is, that I thought that was Bill Bowerman's father.
This 150-year-old man.
Which totally takes away how cool it was.
It was very cool.
We took a picture for him so he could have a picture with his dad's statue at Hayward Field, and then of all the people we bump into, it's him. But she would not let me live it down that I thought that was momentarily that was Bill Bowerman's father, not his son.
Yeah, he definitely would have been the oldest person living in the world, I'm pretty sure.
By multiple generations. Like
Yeah.
Oh, and then remember, we also had another deal. The guy from the Nike Pegasus commercials with Joe Benoit.
Yeah. So he has this thing where he can recognize people. Yeah. Like not just celebrities, not just the top runners, but like we're out and he recognized. He's like, I think that's the guy who was in the Nike Pegasus commercial with Joan Benoit Samuelson. Yeah. And like. I don't even know what the guy's job was.
Well, he works for Nike.
But he's not a well-known like.
And he was like surprised, like somebody like recognized him, like that wasn't from like the Eugene running community that would know, because he also does coaching. Yeah. But like he was like surprised. So we struck up this conversation, and Hill got a chance to meet Joan Benoit at a race, and she's got some books that talk about her, and it was cool. Like he was saying, talking about working with her and how she's just exactly that way, and but he was like kind of surprised that somebody recognized him, and she was like, "What?" And so I had to go online and go, "Look, the Pegasus commercial. Remember, they make it where that's the only thing they sell is Pegasus."
Yeah.
And this guy and Joan Benoit are like the shoe salespeople at the Pegasus shop, and so. Yeah, so we bumped into the
I bet
stuff.
you made his day. I'm pretty sure you made his day for sure.
It was pretty cool. But I mean, that's kind of how Eugene was. And like when I was in high school and got to train up there 2 summers, I mean, you just bump into like the people that you watch on television or you read about, and so it was kind of cool to be able to have that experience with her, having had that in the past, and just that joy of running. And it was but yeah, we were finding all kinds of interesting people, but my favorite was running up that hill. Right? Hey,
I would have done the same thing. I would have done the same thing.
She was getting so mad at me.
Yeah.
That's the expression that she had, the face, or anywhere we're going in downtown Eugene. And the farmers market, Fifth Place Marketplace, all the shops.
And now, he'll do it like just it's.
Hey, that's what happens.
Like if your dad doesn't sometimes embarrass you, like, is he actually your dad?
Yeah, that's exactly what I tell my daughter, and she tells me that I embarrass her, and she's like, if I don't do this, I'm not doing my job. That's part of being a father.
I mean, you're a dad. This is what it's in the paperwork. Like you have to fulfill your obligation there.
Yeah, no,
and I mean, I have to give it back too.
Yeah, and that's what I told my daughter. Like I that's why I wanted to have kids. Like I wanted to have a kid so I can, embarrass them just as much as my parents embarrassed me, The only difference is that I was very hard to get embarrassed. My mom tried so hard, and I embarrass myself just sometimes just walking in public, so it's very, very hard for someone to do it, but that's the same thing. So I would have done the same thing if you were my child. I probably would have been a little bit more harsh probably. So you're lucky that your dad was not as harsh, but I definitely wanted to save something for last, and we kind of talked about it already a little bit, but so your dad, Mike, you ran the New York City Marathon. I know you did because I was trying to help Hillary a while back, trying to find pictures of the race, because I found this website that actually has all the pictures from every single year, So I couldn't find them, unfortunately. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because she ran it finally, like she said. How was that a full circle for you, Mike, knowing that you had ran it and then now you have your daughter running a very prestigious race as the New York City Marathon?
I was just happy for that she had the opportunity to do it, because we went there the 10 years before, and there was just the weather. It was so cold and wet, and she was pregnant, and there was just no way that she could have done that race without jeopardizing health so it was a very smart decision. It was a hard decision.
Yeah.
So it was very rewarding to see. And I think it epitomizes this sport, and sometimes the delayed gratification or overcoming the obstacles, but it was cool to see coming back a decade later and then, running and finishing the course, because, anybody who's run it knows it's probably the most amazing running experience. You run through all 5 boroughs of the city. There's 2 million people lining it. Everything in New York that weekend revolves around the marathon.
Yeah.
And so, her having the opportunity to finally run it and finish it was really rewarding. And one of the coolest things, she surprised me on 2 different things. One, I never kept any of my race t-shirts. And she found like pristine online 2004 New York City Marathon shirt.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And that was the year he ran it.
So she got me from the year I ran. Like I said, I didn't keep any of my shirts. So she got me that. And then she brought my New York City medal and number, and she ran with my number on her back. And then we had to take pictures with our medals.
That's awesome.
On the streets of New York with, I think, a subway sign behind
Yeah,
it. So
I think I sent you that photo.
so
Yeah.
it was really touching that she thought like that in the midst of wanting to accomplish something important to her and that overcoming it, that she would want me to dig out, a race number or medal because they're in a box in my closet. And so, but it was cool that she wanted to share that experience. So that on top of seeing her get to do what she wanted to do was awesome.
Yeah. No, and it's got to be a very good feeling as a coach and as a father to see that, you did it, and now your daughter does it, and again, that race for me has always been my favorite one to do. I've done it twice, and it's just magical. There's something special about it. I mean, Berlin was amazing, great crowd support, very flat. But I don't know, something about New York when you see that many people and the city literally stops. A city that's so busy, it's so busy. And it literally stops for one day of almost a full day to see these people come and run and take over the streets is mind-boggling. And it's been my favorite race. I don't think I will find another race that I can say like it will be my top race to do, but if I could do it every year, I would probably do it. But man, I would lose a lot of friends with charity. Having to do
Yeah.
do it every year.
I would definitely recommend it. I mean, getting bussed out to Staten Island, they have like a mini village out there. They've got
Yeah.
bagels, brought a Sunday newspaper. They have a non-denominational like religious service in a tent that's going on there. All the waves of the starts, and when you finally your turn goes to the start, you're playing Sinatra's New York, New York.
Yeah.
And I'm originally from Brooklyn. My entire family's from there, and I can't tell you how many times we drove across the Verrazano, and to run across it was just like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's just the best tour of New York City because you see all 5 boroughs,
Yeah.
and you don't have to change things. You have to go in the subway or any of those things. I mean, you're literally on the streets of New York, and you're touching on all 5 boroughs. And
Yeah.
so any runner out there who runs marathon, if they're looking at a bucket list, I would have that. And then I'm also excited. Sometimes you'll see your kids do stuff that you never got to do. I never did Boston.
Yeah.
And when she did it, I mean, I was at work. My students were working on something, and I'm like following it live on the thing. And they're like, Coach Burgess, what are you doing? I go, hey, my daughter's running the Boston Marathon. I'll help you out here just a second. She's at mile 21.
Yeah.
And so it was cool following that and seeing her finish, and having her run something that that I never got a chance to do, and I don't think it's in the cards for me. But it was neat to see her get to have that experience because like New York, I mean, it's just iconic. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the oldest marathon in the country. My hero as a kid was in one of the most famous Boston marathons.
And Rob, you have to do it. Add that to your list. You gotta do it.
No, I want to do the 6 majors. Not thinking of doing the other ones. I just want to do the 6 core majors, and I'll be more than happy. But yes, Boston is one of them that I want to do, and of course Tokyo and London. Hopefully next year I'll be doing London. My friend Paul, well, Paul, he's gonna try to help me get into London. So
I just signed the paperwork for charity for 2026 London.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So that is the year you will have to do it. I will not say which charity or talk about any of that yet, but I signed the paperwork yesterday. So that is the year that you need to be doing it.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of the charity, then one of the coolest things is for Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
She's gonna representing the Tillman Foundation, and it was really cool because she grew up in Arizona, and Pat Tillman is a huge national story about his life and all that. But if you grow up in Phoenix, and for myself going to Arizona State, Pat Tillman is incredible. The sacrifice, giving up millions and renegotiated NFL contract to go become an Army Ranger because he felt that he needed to do something of service and loses his life. And so it's kind of cool when she told me that, like, she's going to be running for the Tillman Foundation, because we did the Tillman Honor Run
Yeah,
Okay.
during the pandemic in
Yeah.
San Antonio. We did 4.2 miles in our neighborhood, because it's a strange distance. His number at Arizona State was 42.
Yeah.
So the race in Tempe is 4.2 miles, and it finishes on the 42-yard line in Sun Devil Stadium.
Oh, wow.
And so we did 4.2 miles in our neighborhood together, and for that, and it was really cool. And when she surprised me, she said, "You're never going to guess which charity I'm running for in Chicago." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, there's lots of them." But when she said the Tillman Foundation, it's an awesome group. They do a lot to raising money so veterans can get college educations.
Yeah.
And, couldn't ask for a more inspirational person than Pat Tillman.
Definitely, and I'll definitely make I'll put a little bit of money in there too, because that's awesome. I knew his story as well through football and whatnot. So it's such a crazy, amazing story. To, like you said, to give up the money and all that comes with playing professionally like that, to feel the need to do something like that, and put your life in risk. And he definitely did to
Yeah.
for
And
for us, basically. So it's amazing.
he saw absolutely no publicity. He never did one media interview ever.
Mhm.
And the Army, after his death, a lot of documents that were released afterwards, the Army wanted to use him like Captain America. They didn't want him going into combat zone. They literally wanted to, if you see the Captain America, the original Avenger, they wanted to use him
Yeah.
on PR promo tours, like, here's our Captain America. And
Yeah.
he wanted nothing to do with it. He did no interviews at all for anything.
Yeah.
He did it, and so, I've got a quote from him about passion, and it's in my classroom,
Yeah.
and tagline on emails. And so I'm really, really excited that she gets to do something for a charity that is incredibly worthwhile. And
There's a big meaning, yeah, for sure. And that this is going to be your third or your fourth major?
This will be my fourth.
Your fourth. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Remember, I was in Berlin the same time you were. We
Yeah,
ran
yeah.
Berlin at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. I did Chicago. That was my first ever marathon, and I did horrible. So I really want to do it again. I just
Yeah.
don't know if next year would be oh no, this year, right?
This year,
This
yeah.
year,
I'm doing 2025 Chicago, yeah.
Yeah. I hope you get good weather. I hope you get
Yeah.
nice and cold weather, because when I
mean,
did it,
if
it
I
was
don't,
hot.
we live in Texas, if at the worst, it's what we live through.
True.
Like it's not ideal, but at least it's not new.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I think with me, what happened is that I was not prepared for a marathon, even though I
Yeah.
trained for it.
Yeah.
I went out too fast. I cramped out because I was not taking the right nutrition during the race, which, after 7 attempts, I finally figured it out, and I think I'm good to go now. But it's definitely a race in that I want to do again, because uh, I definitely can do much better. I know I can. So I really wish you good luck in that race. And man, I'm now very pumped to know that we're probably going to be running London
We
together.
are going to.
Yes,
We
yes,
absolutely are
yes,
going to.
and,
yes.
and you'll have to point at her and
Oh,
go, "Hey, let's run up that
every
hill."
single mile, I will point and say that in
Yeah, we
your
were gonna
honor.
run Houston together because we had a similar time goal.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in the emergency room, and so that didn't happen. So we have to. That will be our redemption run.
Yes, you
We'll
stay
finally make
healthy,
it happen.
please, Hillary. Please stay healthy,
Yes.
okay?
Oh gosh, if I am sick in London, like Houston, I can sign up again. If
Yeah.
I am sick in London, like I will end that race and collapse after I finish.
Yeah, I will make sure you race
Yeah.
it. I will make sure, for
Yeah.
sure. But guys, I really do appreciate your time. I appreciate everything. It gives me more clarity on Hillary, on how she got into running, and how she's such an amazing like kind of ambassador for runners. She's amazing. I follow her now for quite a while, And I really enjoy what you put because you're very passionate to what you do. And I could see the passion where it comes from. Your dad's very, very passionate. And we need more coaches like that, that care about their athletes, not for what they're going to do for them right now, but what you can do for them in the future, which is not a very common thing. So keep on doing what you're doing, Mike. And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you again, Hillary. You're already kind of like a regular as well. But I definitely enjoy having you and your dad. That this was awesome. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah,
Great
no
having
problem.
me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have a good night.